G'day guys, and welcome to the Sunday Beginner Series. And as promised, I'm going to be going through...
Don't talk out loud, you lower the IQ of the whole street.
Apologise about that. Just got a message through on Discord, just organising some stuff. But, as I was saying before I got interrupted, as promised, I'm going to go through pin progression. And I wanted to try and break down what I would recommend and what a lot of people would recommend as well as a good way of progressing through pins when you first start out picking. Now, as I explained and said, you always start out with standard pins like the ones in the training blocks. These are the easiest pins to start off picking with, and there is a reason behind that, because you're not going to get a lot of crazy feedback, or you're not going to get a lot of hassle picking standard pins compared to those that you get from security pins. But there is a natural progression that you should take whilst going through whilst learning picking. So you start off with with standard pins, and once you are comfortable and confident in picking standard pins, so you can pick locks that you can see, and then you move on, you take out pins in a lock that you can't see through, and you add pins up until you are very, very confident and in yourself that you can pick standard pins. Then the next logical progression is to go on to security pins. But what would I recommend to transition onto? Now, for me, I'm a person of knowledge. I love learning as much as I can. I pride myself in my knowledge and, learning as much as possible. And lockpicking is a part of that. There is a lot of knowledge to learn about lockpicking. And I pride myself on learning as much as possible, learning facts from fiction and all that. And lockpicking runs exactly the same. There are certain facts that go into lockpicking, and there is a lot of fiction and a lot of bullshit that gets spread out there. And people might think that the progression you should take in pins is different, but for me, and learning the easiest way to start progressing through pins, for me, this is what I did, and a lot of people would also recommend doing this. So what is the logical next step to take after standard pins? Well, that would be spools. Now, you can count spools as your standard spools that we all know and love, like those in the newer Lockwoods, like the 334B45, or that are in a Master Lock 140. And I'm just going to grab my ones here that are up on the top shelf. So, Master Lock 140, these also contain spool pins, and the Master Lock 150, which is pretty much exactly the same, just it's a little bit bigger. So, as you know, these normally contain, if it's a 5-pinner, like both of these are, normally contains one standard and the rest are spools. But I would recommend getting your hands on some spool pins and progressing like you did with standard pins. Start off with one standard and one spool pin in your drivers, and then add spool pins as you progress and go through. Just like with the Sparrow's progressive locks, start off with 2 pins and work your way up to 5. Start off with one standard and one spool, and then add spools as you progress until you get to the stage where you can actually pick 5 spools. Remove the standard pin and pick 5 spools. And spools, like mushrooms and your standard spools that you get, are the easiest of security pins to pick. They're the ones that give you all the feedback that you need to be able to tell when they need to be picked. Because you get counter rotation and you get a false set with spool pins. So once you are confident again, you think you've mastered spool pins, you're very confident in picking them, and you can pick the 140s, 150s, master locks, Lockwoods that you know contain spools. Then the next set of pins I would recommend progressing onto are serrated pins. These are a whole new ball game when it comes to picking, because with a standard pin you get a solid click and you get that feedback, that noise when the pin is set. Serrated pins, because of, as they are stated, they are serrated, so they've got heaps of little cutouts through them. Every click or every time you lift that pin up one notch that's cut out into it to that shear line, you're going to get a click sound. So you're going to hear that distinctive setting of the pin, which makes you think that it's been set, but in fact you're actually just caught in one of the little serrations through the pin that's in the shear line. So it takes a lot more practice and a lot more skill to get confident with serrated pins. So locks that contain serrated pins, well, we know for a fact that the American locks, like the 1100 series, these contain serrated pins. If you are lucky enough to get your hands on one of the pack locks, these also, if you can kind of see, contain, my camera will cooperate, can't quite make it out, these also contain serrated pins. So, you know, find out which ones contain serrated and work your way through. I'm pretty sure the Mako and First Watch both contain serrated pins as well. So that is the next progression on. And then once you are extremely confident and you know you can consistently pick each set of pins up to serrateds, and once you've mastered serrateds and you are confident with them, then you can progress on to another style, which could be serrated spools, which are a mix of the two, or the Asa spools that you see around, or barrels. And then, you know, work your way through. But the three main pin styles that you do come across quite often in most locks is either standards, spools, or serrateds. You don't really find many T-pins and stuff, but they are another section of pin that you should practice. And when it comes to pins like T-pins, I wouldn't recommend filling a full lock with just T-pins, trying to pick them. Once you move on to that, I would recommend then doing a mixture of pins. So take a 5-pin lock, for instance. The very first pin you might want to throw a standard in, and I'm just talking about drivers mainly at this point. So throw a standard, then you might throw in a serrated in chamber 2, spool in 3, another serrated in 4, and then maybe a T-pin or another serrated pin in 5, and then work your way through, pick that, practice picking that, and then yeah, work on your combinations. Then you can move on to making your own security pins. As you know, all the locks, challenge locks that I make, I use all homemade security pins in mine. I never actually buy any, because you know I like doing the whole hands-on thing. And you can make some really weird, you can make pinning pins, you can make pins such as this one. This looks kind of like a serrated, but these are quite wide for serrations in it. I don't actually happen to have any in this container. Another one you can move on to which I made up some, which I'm meant to be, I've got to send in to Bosnian Bill. I promised him I'd send him some, which I've got just here. These are a whole new ball game when it comes to security pins. These are floating pins, so as you can see, if you can make it out, I'm trying to do this in a way I don't block. Come on, camera, focus for me. Come on. As you can see, the inner pins here, or the inside of the pin is actually floating. So, you know, floating wave pins, that one's got serrations and 2 floating discs. Now I've got one that is a spool on the inside there that floats up and down, serration in the top. So have some fun, muck around, you know. You're only limited by your imagination and materials when it comes to pins. But as I was saying, if as a beginner, you know, you want to learn, you want to do it the correct way, I would recommend sticking with that progression that I've stated. So standards, move on to spools, then move on to serrated, then combinations of pins, and then some funky homemade ones. Once you are confident with the most common ones that you're going to come across. But yeah, hopefully this will help you with your progression of pins, and never rush. Do not rush. Start off with 2 pins, then add more of the security pins as you work your way through. Never fill up every single chamber with all spools and try and pick it. You know, take your time and learn the correct way, and don't move on until you are confident enough within yourself to be able to consistently pick locks with those pins. And before you know it, you will be knocking out challenge locks and picking them as if they were like a hot knife through butter, as they say. But anyway, hopefully this helps you out. And I'm going to head down to the lounge room and watch the new Bohemian Rhapsody movie. Finally got it. I just finished watching the new Robin Hood movie that came out, I think it was like last year now. Finally got to watch it. Absolutely awesome. You know, I really like archery, and as I said in my video the other week, my run of bad luck, this is the first arrow I shot into my target from 20 yards. Keeps going till you get to where the fletching is, and that's where I shot my second arrow straight into the back of the first one. So there's the end of that one. Goes all the way through. Trying to fit this in right in to the back of my first arrow that I shot from 20 yards when I was sighting in for distance. So yeah, awesome movie, because I love archery. But anyway, as always follow the codes, keep Locksport legal, you know, don't go do anything stupid. Please hit that subscribe button. As you know, I try to make 2 to 3 to 4 videos per week, depending on work and everything else I've got going on. And don't forget to turn notifications on, which I believe is over here somewhere. That way you can stay up to date with when I upload a video. Please come and join us on Discord, Extraordinary League of Pickers. I cannot recommend that enough. Absolutely fantastic group of people on there. Don't forget you can also find us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, where I put up posts and photos of what's going on in the background. And all the fun stuff happens around here pretty much. If you like what you see, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Really do appreciate it, and it does mean a lot. Just like when you subscribe, it really does mean a lot to my little channel here. If you want to get in contact with me, you can contact me through any of the social medias, Discord, or send us an email at darkartslockpicking@gmail.com, and you know I'll get back to you. Don't forget, put a comment down below. Really do appreciate it, and it's good to hear from everyone. And till next time, cheers guys.